Imagine if you will. It's 2018 and you've just released a Game Award winning shooter. What's next? Perhaps a follow-up that continues to build on the already established and beloved characters, continues the main story, and maybe, just maybe, fight Mecha Hitler. Or you could make a spin-off that doubles as a poorly written, rushed, underbaked, unpolished excuse of a looter shooter that's set about 20 years after the hypothetical third game and that lacks most of the things you need in order to have a solid looter shooter. But why make a competent game when you can just be a trend-chasing moron? I mean, look at Anthem, Outriders, and anything Ubisoft has shot out in the last 5 years. If you can't tell, I spent 14 hours with Wolfenstein Youngblood, beat the story and all side quests, or at least the ones that aren't permanently broken, and I absolutely hated it. I could end the video here and my point would still stand. IGN gave this a 6 out of 10 for fuck's sake, and they thought they were contractually obliged to give everything a 7 or up. So, let me take you back to before I started playing and tell you why Wolfenstein Youngblood is just Destiny without a destination. I don't even fucking like Destiny. Originally announced at E3 2018 and to be developed by MachineGames, who made the previous 3 installments, and Arkane Studios, who previously made the Dishonored games. The initial plan was to make a more story-driven adventure for one of the twins, but this was later changed so they could include both Jesse and Zofia, meaning you either had to get a buddy to suffer with you or suffer at the hand of a brain-dead AI companion. I opted to suffer on my own. That and no one else wanted to buy it. Also decided in its early development was that the game would be in a more non-linear fashion, in both story and level design. It would also be built on the It Takes 6 engine, previously used for the new Colossus, meaning they could use its technology in order to save some time and money, add a shorter development time, and top it off with a healthy dose of skill trees, farmable currencies, arbitrary levels, and damage numbers, and you have yourself a perfect recipe of an undercooked looter shooter. The gameplay of Youngblood is a lot like the new Colossus, but worse. You get the option to play as either Soph or Jess. It doesn't really matter as you're stuck with both for the entire runtime of the game. Combined, they spit out so many unfunny, comedic lines of dialogue that they could give Shadow Warrior's Lo Wang a run for his money. This game takes place in the worst city of all time, Paris. The sisters have a variety of firearms, melee items, and throwables at their disposal. These are the... Oh fuck, I can't read this.
Pistole, Maschinenpistole, Blitzgewehr, Sturmgewehr, Kugelgewehr, Dieselkraftwerk, Elektrokraftwerk, Laserkraftwerk. The Knife.
Each one of these can be modified with upgrades in 4 to 5 different categories. These are receiver, sights, magazine, muzzle, and stock. There's also an option to put a camo on it because they really wanted this game to be live service. How'd that work out for you? The more you use a specific weapon, the more you master it. Each mastery ups the amount of damage that it does to any given opponent. Each gun has an achievement relating to getting it to level 10. After completing everything, I only managed to unlock one of these achievements, meaning that they clearly put a lot of time and effort into thinking how the system would actually work. You also unlock one new craftwork with every brother terminal you destroy. Each one of these can be used to kill, but also to open up extra doors and safe rooms, containing additional gear and collectibles. You buy the upgrades with silver coins, which you can find around the city of Paris, inside of buildings and dumpsters alike. You also earn these through completing side missions and completing daily quests, because again, live service. One of the daily quests literally asks you to replay missions you've already completed. What the fuck? You can also find various collectibles. These are concept art, readables, floppy disks, 3D models, UVK covers, which are movies, treasures and cassette tapes, which are admittedly pretty cool, giving you some tunes to listen to as you go through the monotony of selecting your newest quest. You also have the ability to upgrade and customize the characters, both in power and in looks. The game has 3 skill trees for you to upgrade through. The first one of these is Mind, which allows you to upgrade your maximum health and hoard more useless shit. The second tree is Muscle. This one allows you to up your maximum armor and increase your agility, allowing you to carry around the heavy weapons dropped by dead enemies. And the third tree is Power. This one is about drive and also cloaking. Each one of the upgrades shows you a little animation, which are admittedly more fun to look at than the actual game. One of the trees gives you the ability to unlock dual wielding, except for with assault rifles and shotguns, aka the 2 most fun weapons to dual wield. which makes even less sense when you realize that they both wear power armor throughout the entire game, meaning they should be more than capable. You can also change the color of your power suit and the look of the helmet you're wearing. Adding something like this into your game is interesting, because it really makes it feel like your character is slowly becoming stronger and more capable of handling themselves in combat. Except that when you level up, so do all the enemies. So you just end up fighting the same fucking bullet sponges over and over again. This whole game is just a Destiny raid boss. A lot of the upgrades are also incredibly uninspired, just reusing things from the previous games and locking them behind a progression system, like carrying a big gun and the ability to dual wield weapons. The girls also have a pep signal, which they use to boost one another's abilities in combat, such as giving them a magic bonus of health or giving them quadruple damage. This is of course locked behind another fucking paywall. There's also the option to buy additional boosters to give you either 200% more health, armor, or damage for 10 minutes of actual game time. I didn't even know these existed for my entire playtime and discovered them as I was writing this at 4 AM. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but maybe I was just playing the game wrong all along. Other noteworthy features include, but are not limited to, sliding, double jumping, and using a flashlight. Revolutionary. Regardless of how much you upgrade your character, your sister just can't seem to get rid of the absolute wet sponge of a brain that she starts the game with. When you make a looter shooter game, one thing you need to have is replayability. Most games do this by adding a wide variety of areas for you to explore, with varying looks and environments, such as the contrast between the arid lands of Pandora and the cityscape of Promethea in Borderlands 3. It is quite hard to do this when you've set your entire game in the same city with a grand total of 11 areas. Each one of the areas is well detailed and quite big, with a large amount of streets, alleys, and interiors to explore and scavenge. Most of these boil down to the exact same thing, however. Go to a place, find a thing or person, kill someone. It doesn't help that every single one of these areas is filled to the brim with these brain-dead husks, the so-called AI, which is average at best and idiotic at worst. You can also be contacted to be given an even sidier quest while already on a side quest. These are random and can be things like rescuing civilians, rigging a car to explode, or planting a bug. During gameplay, you'll also come across locked doors which can be opened in two ways. Either find a passcode or just hold a lever until the AI decides to hold the other lever. You find passcodes by finding a floppy disk, then finding a decryption station which then shows you the code, which you then don't need to remember as it already shows it on the keypad, but you still need to enter it. What? Why? That being said, we don't even really need 2/3 the areas in this game, as only the brother areas are story related, which are gated off by arbitrary level caps. Great! Meaning the majority of your playtime will be spent talking to French accents and making your way through side quests in order to be allowed to play the main game. Speaking of main game, let's talk about this game's story, of which there is very little. The game starts off with us making our loadouts. This is basically just our starting kits, getting to choose between controlling either Jess or Soph, suit setup, and starting equipment. The story starts with us catching up with the Blazkowicz family near Mesquite, Texas, the same place BJ grew up. We see Anya train Soph's hand-to-hand skills as BJ takes Jess out hunting. I was under the impression that this implied a difference in the girls' their strengths when it came to actual gameplay, but I was putting my bar way too high. This game's cutscenes are also a complete borefest. Remember how I praised those in the New Order and the New Colossus for their style? Yeah, not in this one. It's the blandest shit I've ever seen. Wide angle, close angle, shot, reverse shot, it's all so generic. The writers either didn't know what made the cutscenes from the other games special, or they just didn't give a fuck. Bada bing, bada boom, all of a sudden we're in Paris. The sisters are here, accompanied by Abby, Grace's daughter, looking for BJ after he came here and mysteriously disappeared. We meet up with the French resistance in the catacombs, led by Juju and this sketchy bald man. They tell us that the previous Nazi general, Lothar Brandt, was removed from his position and is set to be replaced. They instruct us to kill his replacement as our first assignment. The girls killed their first Nazi in a cutscene, cheering and throwing up for comedic effect. And Soph sounds like a horse when she laughs. We get about 3 seconds into actual gameplay before the ending of Wolfenstein 3 is spoiled for us. Great. Another thing I instantly noticed is how flat out shit the guns sound in this game. In my trilogy video, I mentioned how the guns kept sounding better and better with every subsequent entry into the franchise. Here, they've somehow managed to roll them back like 5 years. They sound weak and almost toy-like, especially the shotgun. So, we shoot our way through the airship before finally arriving at our target, General Winkler. He's a pretty subpar boss. His two main abilities are turning invisible and having a metric fuck ton of health. We shoot him a whole lot until he flies into an engine, crashing the blimp. We then get a cutscene which serves as the precursor for the entire game, which ends with Soph, Jess and Abby finding clues that BJ is located in Paris. Abby's reaction to the twins in the scene sums up my opinion on this game quite well.
You guys are weird.
After which we get our first true open world experience as we fight our way through the French streets to make our way back to the catacombs. We then get told the basic gist of the story. We need to take out the 3 Brooder terminal computers, which is what this game dubs its raids, a la Destiny or Borderlands. Our imaginary number is however not high enough to take on any of these raids. Thus we must complete many a meaningless side quests in order to level up our character, buy upgrades for our skill trees, and pimp out our weapons. These quests range from eliminating high-ranking Nazi officials, destroying government property, and rescuing more people who will in turn give you more meaningless quests. Every single one of these quests is as boring as the next, making you backtrack through the same area several times in a row. After you've clawed your way through enough meaningless fluff, you're finally allowed to continue the main quests, which are all structured the same fucking way. Go to an area, kill a whole bunch of Nazis, destroy the Uber guard guarding the central computer, and interact with the thingamajig. Do this another 2 times before talking to Juju and the bald man again. Every time we take an elevator we are treated to something like this. We arrive at the catacombs and are treated to a drink, but turns out you really can't trust any French people. Turns out Lothar is actually that previous German general who was removed from power for being too radical. The evil goons openly discuss their plan in the same room with the good guys, but plot twist, turns out Abby discovered that Lothar was the German general like 10 minutes earlier. Quite convenient. They engage in a scuffle, the sisters get whacked, Abby gets stabbed in the eye, and Lothar hits his double backflip. Damn, I do wonder how Abby will recover from such a traumatic experience. Never mind, all good. So, we chase Lothar and Juju to their secret base, Lab X. We shoot our way through the base before making it into the secret Jew vaults, which houses the greatest treasure of all, Daddy Blazkowicz. He tells us that Hitler activated the Doomsday device after his death, which would slowly fuck up the Earth's weather patterns in order to fully exterminate the human race. Absolute mad lad. Lothar leaves his wife to die because he's a true Sigma. We also have the God Key, a new super powerful thingamajig which we can use to catch oncoming bullets and return them from whence they came. Regardless of your level, Lothar will always be more than 3 levels ahead of you, making him quite resilient to your bullets. It's also sectioned up into several stages. In stage 1 he's completely impervious to all damage and only takes damage from his own bullets. The game however doesn't tell you this. Stage 2 sees him go on a jetpack joyride as he shoots off barrages of missiles. And stage 3 has you shoot him a whole lot until he falls over and dies. This big plane shows up, but it gets Deus Ex Machina out of existence by Grace and Anya, who just show up. The game ends with Abby telling us that we need to collect as much of Lothar and Juju's tech as possible. However, I was already quite tired of this game and promptly deleted it. That and the next main quest was locked behind an upgrade that I needed to level up at least 6 times for, and I can say with confidence that I don't need to play another dozen quests to tell you that this game is a complete piece of shit. In the end, Wolfenstein Youngblood just ends up feeling like a whole bunch of padding. Too much to feel like it's actually going to go somewhere with its story, but just enough for you to play past the 2-hour mark on Steam, taking your option to get a refund away. This game has 5 terribly boring missions stretched out to 10 hours of pure padding, 4 annoying sisters out of 10. Hey, thanks for watching my new video on this hell nightmare of a game. I hope you enjoyed it more than I did playing it. If you did, please leave a like, a comment, as well as a sub if you're new. It really helps me out. If you like this video, then please go watch my other Wolfenstein video, or watch all of them, that's fine too. I don't know what the next video will be. I was thinking of finally discussing God of War 2018 since it's on PC now. But apparently they put mouse acceleration in the game, which should be punishable by having to work 15 years in Elon Musk's new lithium mine. And if it was a woman, 3 years in any given Ubisoft studio should do it. Probably worse than the mine now that I think about it. That's gonna be it for this video. As always, I wish you all the best. I've been Zanyverse. Till next time.